Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, Director of Sales for Bona Adhesives.
I'm Rob Johnson from the Bona Training.
How are you, Rob?
I am really good. How do you like the new camera?
You look pretty pale and pretty white.
Oh, thank you for the
Yeah,
compliment. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's very
I'm
bright
going to be
and vivid.
playing with this thing forever.
I know. But when you get done, let's get with the podcast.
Okay.
Rob, I don't know if you know it or not, but I have a dog on 5 medications.
No, I did not know that.
I have a
It
dog
does
that's
not.
on
It does not surprise me.
5 medications he's on. And I went fishing last week, Sunday, actually. Oh, I had a great day, by the way. I got 5 really nice smallmouth. And I was leaving the parking lot, and I seen the worst possible thing. I seen a stray cat that somebody dumped off. Okay.
How,
Now,
how do you know somebody dumped off a stray cat?
well,
You saw a cat.
it's
See, I think we're going to read a story in Tennessee newspaper or something about somebody who's
stealing
stealing
cats.
animals. Yeah. Yeah, they're stealing. Oh, he's a stray.
He was in a parking lot out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere,
Oh,
and he was starving to death. So,
all
I tried to get him to get some food. He wouldn't take the food. He was scared. He ran away, or she. As it turns out, she ran away. I already knew no more about that cat than I want to, and so I tried for about another 20 minutes or so, and then she finally just quit and walked right up to me without any fight. And I picked her up and threw her in the car, and I first thing I did was went to a little grocery store out in the country. They sold cat food and gave it some cat food, and it devoured it. And so we got to find a home for that cat. So I am really not happy about that situation.
why don't you put a picture up? See if any of the listeners want her.
I gladly do that. I have a picture. I took a picture of her.
All right.
So
So,
I put her in the garage. Very, very affectionate cat. I mean, super affectionate cat. So black and
so how
white.
many cats and animals does that make now living in your house?
We got 4 cats and a dog. So I just cannot have another one, man. Just can't. So anyhow, um, as I was thinking the other day, Rob, I was talking to somebody and the customer was complaining about something that they did. And this industry, this trade that we're in, what makes it so difficult, if you're an electrician and you learn the trade of being an electrician and you're dealing with wires, and the certain wires go to certain places, and it's cut in stone. I mean, believe me, you'll find out the hard way if not. I mean, there's no room for you know maybe it should go here, or maybe they could do this. There's no room for there's no gray area. It's black and white. And our trade, especially on the sand and finish side, even on the installation side, many times is nothing but gray zone. You know what I mean? It's nothing but left to what somebody's perception of what it should be, or and what have you. And I think that's what makes our trade so difficult. I mean, I'm just going to list a few things that are very subjective. And as you start with the sheen of the finish, I mean, matte to you and matte to me, in our mind's eye, might be something completely different. And you might be saying matte, but you don't really mean matte. What I know is matte to be, because maybe you're not from this industry, and you read something that something else is matte, or you saw something and you think matte was the right way to go. And maybe you did look at samples, and maybe it's in a different lighting, and maybe it's in a smaller setting. And so just the sheen level alone is very much up to what someone thinks is the right sheen level. Color of the stain. I mean, when you look at a sample, there's no way someone's going to stain the entire floor as a sample and then watch it at certain lights. Someone maybe bid the job in July, and the weather was really nice out and it was very clear. And then by the time you do the job a few months later, the weather starts to change. Now it's gotten darker and what have you. And maybe that alone is that medium brown color stain now looks darker to someone when they see the entire floor. Or sometimes it's just buyer's remorse. Sometimes they thought they wanted that, and as much as you talk to them about it, and they, some people don't want to, they'll be very polite and everything, so they're going to go along with things, but then when it gets right down to it, they're disappointed. They have buyer's remorse, and it wasn't even a matter of there was not communication. It's just that they didn't see it or didn't take the time to see it or think it through or whatever. Um,
Let's stay with that for a second.
yeah.
Last week I did a BCC school up in Syracuse, and since we started adding chroma, our water-based coloration system, since we've added this to the school, we have been blowing people away. And that is like one of the number one things that guys really love about the chroma is you put down the chroma and it is so easy to dial in a little bit more color without, with really just like pulling a sealer over it. That easy. Where you're not talking resands, you're not talking a resand or a restain or staining it twice or something like that. People are just blown away by just adding 1 or 2 ounces of chroma into a gallon of intense seal and nailing the color. Because I think you and I both have learned over the years that you can put some samples out there, you can even put some big samples out there, but when they look at it, a whole room at night and then during the day, things are going to change. Things could change, and now it's almost like you can embrace that change. You can really dial these colors in and really help that homeowner achieve what they're looking for.
So if I'm going to miss on a stain, I would 100 times over rather be on the light side than the dark side. And a lot of it is for that reason you're just saying with chroma. I always feel like as long as I'm close and a little bit too light, I can dial it in now. I could dial in way easier than using some of the products we used to use in the past.
Yes, yeah.
And
that's what shocked me about chroma was how easy it is to, bump it up a touch, or if you need to bump it up even more, how simple it is.
Yeah. I think that is massive. I I used to carry Transtent with it in the van all the time for that reason, for just in case we had to add some other color to a stain, with the sealer or the finish that went over the stain. But he was always, gosh, is it 2 drops or is it whatever? I mean, it was always like, oh gosh, hope you don't put too much in there, and it was difficult to work with. The chroma is going to be way easier to work with. And I think there's a formula, right, for 5% more and what have you.
You can do anywhere from like 1 to 6%.
Yeah, that's, I think, absolutely phenomenal. Speaking of chroma, we had a contractor. I kind of wish we had him on the podcast, because he was saying that it was a learning curve for them to use it on a job, but he figured on this job it saved him an entire day. And so he's working into their system now up in Canada. So that's, the time savings alone on this product, plus there's never having to worry about spontaneous combustion again. We weren't going to talk about chroma on this floor, but I just think that's I'm not a gambler. I know you're not a gambler, but that's the scary proposition to have to worry
It's
about.
Crazy throwing rags away.
Yeah.
It's crazy picking up, because really, since we've introduced chroma, I don't think that I've done any oil-based stain demos or training. I'm assuming everybody who, especially BCC, knows it. I'm not saying, oh, we're not going to do that anymore if anybody wants to see the oil, but I just think that the chroma is just such an exciting product and such a industry changer. I mean, how long have we been staining floors with oil base? Hundreds of years, seriously. And now all of a sudden, this is big. This is like going from the drum to the belt. I know this isn't supposed to be a chroma show, but I think that's what it's turning into.
Well, I mean, they say gambling is a game of luck, and the number one rule is you don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Um, and if you know, a lot of guys will get through 30 years of doing floors without having a fire. But it's like getting struck by lightning. You know what I mean? Is that one time that you do, it's you or one of your guys or what have you, man. It's a scary proposition. So yeah. So along with
Every class I do, I ask that. How many guys have had a fire?
Mhm.
And usually it's more than 2/3 of the hands go up, whether it's stain, dust, vacuum, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always tell especially new guys, I always tell everybody, all right, now seriously take a look around at all the hands that are up for you guys who don't have your hand up. And then I'll let everybody, a bunch of people tell their stories and everything about, what their fire issue was. And I would say at least half of the fires had something to do with stain rags.
Yeah. Well, that's no
At least
surprise.
half.
Wow. And
You open the show with, us versus electricians, or the difference between us and electricians and, plumbers, things like that. When I open every school, that's kind of the pep talk I give is the difference between what we do and, let's say, what an electrician and a plumber does. And I always thought that they perform a service. They're in a service industry. And like you said, when you're plugging wires into a box, there's only one way to do it. It has to be according to code. And what we do is a craft. Just and we're all going to end up at the same place, but a lot of us take different routes of getting there. Just for instance, one of the examples I always use is if I have to, I'll go 36, 50, 80. If I don't have to, I like to go 50, 80, and then finish with 120.
yeah.
Okay? Now, bum, completely opposite. 40, 60, 100, finishes with 120. We both think the other guy is nuts.
Yeah.
I don't get the feeling that he's getting, and he doesn't get the feeling I don't think it's enough. He thinks it's too much. But that's the whole craft to this, I think. And that's what separates us from being a service industry is so many guys. Think of how many guys, different ways of running an edger.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, there's always the rules that we stress in the schools. I tell everybody, look, this is a craft. We're all not going to do it the same. But every once in a while, there's some, rules when according to dry times, cure times, dry times, grit sequence, things like that, we kind of have to follow. But, there's a lot of leeway there as far as being a craft and not really a service industry.
Well, yeah, and sometimes that's nice to have, you know what I mean? Because you put all that into the equation to come up with what you think is the best solution for your clients. But like even the board lengths are subjective to a lot of people. You can say it's selecting better or it's clear or what have you, or it's number one comment, and this is what's allowed. But a lot of times you'll see homeowners saying, "Gosh, this board's how come you put this board so small in this area here, and these boards I thought they'd be longer."
Yeah.
Unless the job states, which I've been on jobs like this, where it's like no boards shorter than 3 feet, which are we've definitely been on those jobs. But most of the times you're going to use what's there. They're nested bundles, and you're gonna stagger them as eloquently as you can and or elegantly as you can, and make it flow and not have H joints and those type of things, and use those boards accordingly. But if the consumer has in their mind a picture they saw some in Pinterest or a floor they saw back in the 1800s, it's a place they just visited with white plank floors, and it's all long lengths. um, Man, I've laid floors before where, or sand and finished floors before where all the boards were 12 feet long. There was no butt joints in the room. And so now if you're coming into what's traditional today is nested bundles and whatever. I mean, even that's subjective. And so the floor guy is pitted against somebody who had expectations, and no way you could have ever solved them without someone telling you that ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Have you ever had that conversation with a homeowner?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a blast, huh? That's one of the best ones we can have, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, according to NWFA guidelines, when you look at a
Yeah,
floor, it has to be standing and you can't be in sunlight
yeah.
and it's got to be 3 feet out or 5 feet out, 3 second rule, blah, blah, blah. And I love how they just stare at you. I don't care about NWFA guidelines. I don't like the way
Yeah,
that looks when I'm on my hands and
yeah.
knees.
I think you blended two different rules, though. I think the 5 foot rule and the 3 second rule. The 3 second rule is when food touches the ground, isn't it? That is, you can still pick it up and eat it. I think the 5 foot
No,
two,
the
two
three,
rule.
I think is it 3 seconds or 5 seconds?
I've always gone 5 foot off the ground, looking at 2 feet out, and not using glare as a consideration. But then you
Yeah, but
get
there's
where,
also a seconds,
yeah,
okay?
I think
There's
you're getting
also
a
how
seconds.
many seconds
I
that you
think you're talking
have to
about food
find the
again.
issue. No, I'm not talking about food that hits the ground. Not at all.
No, when you say seconds, oh, maybe that's the
No, I think it's like
buffet
five
rule.
seconds or 3 seconds. If they can't find the issue in 3 seconds, then it's not an issue.
How subjective is that? I know the issue is there, so let me look. Oh yeah, wait, yeah, there it is. I see it. You know what I mean? The whole thing,
I
and when
had a guy one time ask the lady to, I don't know if he asked for like a drink of water or can I borrow a pen or something like that. And when she left, he moved a couple of pieces of tape. And then when she
Mhm.
came back in, he's like, I'm just not seeing what you're talking about. I just don't see it.
that's
It
that's
was
beautiful.
it was brilliant.
It's
It
brilliant if you get
was
away with it. If
it
you
was
don't,
brilliant. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
um, but there's so many things that can work against you. And the other one is the smoothness of the floor. We've talked about this so many times. What is how do you even define that? And to the customer who's arguing that their food. I guess I'm thinking about food
Are you hungry?
a little bit.
Are you hungry?
Um,
You didn't eat?
yeah, I ate
No lunch
about.
today?
I did not have lunch. I had a snack around 1. But the smoothness of the boards, I mean, what's acceptable as far as that? And yes, you can go by the end of vague guidelines and all those type of things, but before it even gets there, the discussion with the homeowner, you shouldn't even have to fight for something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like I said, it's just, let's say, like I've run across this before. My mother-in-law refinished furniture, and everybody in her circle was furniture refinishers. And I think there's like 22 or 23 steps that one guy was telling me that they use to refinish a piece of furniture. Okay. Well, you can imagine the amount of cost that would go up if your floor had 23 additional steps to it to get it to where it needed
I
to
was
be.
just gonna say, except for lawyers, probably a furniture refinisher would be the last guy I'd want to do a floor for because
I didn't
he's not gonna get it.
I didn't realize that until I was about on the third or fourth referral from her to these people. And I started putting it together. These clowns, they don't know anything about doing floors. I mean, you're talking to me, and I tell them I finish off with 120. Go 120. Oh my god, we go to 320 and we do this, then we do 1,000 grit.
Oh my gosh.
I thought, yeah, yeah. So, um, and even the quality of
So
the
you got
boards.
into a nest of floor or furniture
Yeah, yeah.
refinishers.
Old retired furniture refinishers. And
Oh.
here was the one that got me the most. I was doing a courtesan floor. Remember the old Firebird courtesan 3 inch, 5 inch? It was the most beautiful floor.
Yes,
And I was doing,
actually, I can't believe I'm gonna. Yes, I remember
yeah.
that Firebird.
Yes,
It's still around.
they were out of, I want to say, Louisiana. I want to say, yeah. In fact, I know they were out of Louisiana. I don't think they're still around anymore. But it was my all-time beautiful, beautiful, beautiful floor. And it was 5 inch, and I was doing her it was entryway, kitchen, dining room, most of the first floor, and it was mostly all heavy quartered. And she was an antique furniture person back in the 80s. That was all courtesan and white oak, right? So
Right.
I saved this one plank that it was long and had the most beautiful quartersawn grain in it, right? So I told my brothers, this hang on to this board. We're getting in the entryway. I'm going to put this right down the middle of the entryway. Like this is beautiful. Honest to God, Rob, shoot me dead. She asked if we could replace that board.
Oh.
I said, I almost started laughing at first. I said, you're kidding. She goes, no, it's just that it's so wild. I said, ma'am, I mean, you refinish furniture and you guys all do quartersawn. You know, that's the cream of the crop. That doesn't get any better than this. And not only that, when I put the first coat on, actually, that's the other thing that made me that disgusted me with her is she wanted to go natural finish. Now, who does a quartersawn floor and wants to go natural finish? Maybe today. Back in those days, you want to see that grain pop out of the floor, right?
Right.
So I put the first coat on. Then she called my mother-in-law to tell Wayne that there's like some of the boards are like two-tone. Like, can you do anything to like, even that out? I thought you gotta be kidding me right now. You know what I mean? So anyhow, um, my mother-in-law's friends trying to put me out of business. But even so, even the quality of the boards, you can say it's a select grain wood, or you can say it's clear or whatever. And this is acceptable to in those type of floors. But then somebody, I don't like this board and that board and the other. And yes, you can refer back to guidelines. But again, it's just something that, you know, it's uncomfortable. You don't want to have that conversation. You shouldn't have to have that conversation. And it just makes our trade very, very difficult compared to a
I've
lot of
never won that argument ever. I've
yeah,
never gone to the home when they say this and you go, well, the guidelines say I'm allowed this, that, and the other. It doesn't,
yeah,
they don't care. I've
no.
never won that argument. Actually, it's probably an argument I don't want to win anymore. Just
Mhm.
just do a much better job of culling, I think. But tough. I get it. Sometimes it's tough.
Yeah, but well, I mean, it's changed so much. So now the prize wood is wood we would have culled 20 years ago. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Now that's something
yeah.
that's sought after. But I lost my train of
Those
thought when you
damn
said
wood
that.
manufacturers, jeez,
Yeah.
killing us.
uh so I don't know. I just think here's the one thing I think you said you never you get lost in argument or whatever. I think we have one thing against all these things that's maybe on our side. The one thing that we have that can combat everything I just said, and it's not foolproof, it's not bulletproof, but it's the closest thing I've found, and that word is trust. If they trust you and you've built that trust and rapport with them, then that is the one thing you have that can defend against these type of subjective claims. It's a lot easier when you're referred. Believe me when I tell you. When you've been referred to the job, those things come easier. Um, so I don't know. I think that probably whatever it takes to gain trust, all those things you can do by showing up on time and do all these things and being professional and just from the very beginning setting the table by how you treat their home and those type of things. I think the one thing that can combat all these things we talked about that are subjective, and like I said, I know it ain't bulletproof because you're going to run across people sometimes that are just completely irrational or out of control. There's no talking to them. Once in a while, I don't know, do so much anymore because, well, but when I was a territory manager, um,
Way back when Hector was a pup, when you were
yeah,
territory manager.
hmm I'd have to do inspections. And sometimes I would be there and I'm like getting sick to my stomach, listening to the homeowner talking. It's not even my job, but it feels like it's my job. You know what I mean? Because they're putting that contractor through so much hell. And and you know that and you're there to the contractor is always my customer and but sometimes it's just you realize that you're in a no-win situation here and sometimes in a no-win situation, man, you know you never want to have to go to where like, oh, I'm not going to pay you, I'm not going to quarter or go to quarter, those type of things. But sometimes the best thing you can do is just power through that one job and to get to the next one and put it behind you and move on. There's 52 weeks in a year, and we're probably in 30 people's homes in that year's time. And we always remember the bad one. It seemed like every year there was like one. You know what I mean? Your case
Hmm.
probably 20 or 30. Uh,
Easy does it. Easy. No.
just come on. I'm just kidding.
Do
We're
we need
friends
to
here.
go back to the ratings?
No, 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 no. It's all
I
good.
think we do. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. We'll go
it's
back to the ratings. I still have my ratings about you.
yeah. So what do you think on that, Rob?
Well, what I think on that, once Bona fires me, once they start listening to the podcast and
Mhm.
I'm shown the door and I have to go back to doing floors again, I think one of the big things that I would change from when I was full time doing this to now, and I'm just hearing this from all all of the guys that come to our schools and talking with these guys. I think the big thing I would do nowadays is do a lot more communicating with the customer than I did. It used to be I did not want to see anybody until I put the final coat down. I didn't want to talk to anybody. No matter what I was doing, okay? I mean, the thing with Pete and I is we were one job at a time. So it wasn't like, Pete and I would, oh, I'm not going to be there today because I'm doing, we never did that. It was always one job at a time. So don't get in my face. Don't ask any questions. When I'm done, I'm done. Where I look at, how everybody wants to know what's going on. I think I would do a lot better job of communicating with my customers than I did in the old days because I do talk to guys and a lot of guys can get out in front of a lot of these issues just by their communication, even if it's just, not going crazy, bombarding them 2, 3 times a day, but, maybe every other day, just give them an update. Here's what's happening, take a look, whatever. But I think that would be one of the big changes I would make from how I used to do it to, what I'm learning from the guys that are still out in the field.
So this might surprise you, but
Oh, here we go.
oh wow, wow,
Here we go.
yeah, no,
Here
I
we
agree
go.
with you. I agree with you. I'd say the same thing. And
You heard it, folks.
boy, one guy that doesn't like that bell is gonna be really, really mad now.
I have put that bell so far away from the microphone. It's almost on the other side of the room.
That was loud though. No, here's the thing. I
Well,
always
you
felt like
agreed. You agreed with me.
I do, but I felt like I was a good communicator. But no, hang on a second. But even then, I still feel like I would have to communicate more. But here's what I think about that.
Wait a
You
second. Hold that thought,
Yeah,
please. I don't want to keep interrupting you. On your communication skills, rank yourself 1 to 10.
I'm about a 10. I'm a good 9.5.
I'm going to give you a quiet
Yeah.
bell on
Thank
that
you.
one.
Okay. I think that
You know what? That's why I love you, man. That is definitely why 10, I'm writing that down, or 9.5 in communication. Nice. You're the man.
there you go. Thank you. Um so here's the thing. You only have so much energy and passion in a day's time. You know what I mean? And my energy and passion was put towards finishing that job as best I can possibly do. That's where all my energy and passion is going towards. And you know what? I could have put more towards communicating more, but I've always felt like, probably maybe wrongly or whatever, maybe arrogantly or whatever, but I always felt like you should know I'm doing everything humanly possible to make your floor perfect. I'm doing everything I possibly can to be on schedule and do your job and blah 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 as nice as I possibly can. No other project comes before this one, and I want it to be the best experience you've ever had. But I didn't communicate that probably near as much as that what I'm just telling you right now. I felt like they should expect that out of me. I was referred to them and blah blah blah. But even having said that, I think that I probably could have done a better job in communicating and playing the game a little bit more. For instance, I know somebody who would like send flowers at the end of the job, or send magazine subscriptions, whatever. I feel like They should send me flowers at the end of the job. You were so lucky to get me. You know what I mean? That you should be sending me flowers. Is the way I really, in my mind, that's what I felt. So it's tough for me to do the other. You know
Let
what I
me ask
mean?
you another. I'm going to ask you to rank yourself. How humble are you on a 1 to 10?
No, I mean, come on.
Come on.
I'm trying my best to be humble. Uh,
You should be sending me something.
yeah.
Did you get that a lot? Wayne, give me your address. I want to send you something.
No, but did you ever get tips?
Yes.
I
Yes,
was
I did.
offended. I was offended by tips.
Really?
Truly, I never took a tip from nobody, and I always, when they gave me a tip or whatever, I always gave it to whoever I was working with. One guy had me one time. I went there to pick up the check. It was in Blackhawk. I'll never forget it. Because I will never forget it because a kid was going to the Air Force Academy, which I was so impressed with. Like, man, that to me, that means a lot. I mean, that to me is the highest. Going to one of the academies, like I'm so impressed. They said, no, don't leave yet. My husband's going to be home and he wants to give you something. We're really happy with the job. We're really, he'll be home soon. I waited like 45 minutes for this guy to get home, right? So they get somebody goes, man, this is really, and it's like I don't know, 2,000 square foot job. He goes, this is really exceed our expectations. We're really happy, and I want to give you this. What do you think he gave me?
Five
He gave me
bucks.
$40. So the welcome mat.
That's a buck a minute for waiting.
It is. So when I went outside, the welcome mat, I
Yeah.
lifted up the welcome mat and I stuck it under the welcome mat, and I left.
That's kind of insulting,
Both ways around. You know what I mean? Having me
No,
wait for
no,
45 minutes.
no.
And there was just something about me towards the end of my career that I'm a craftsman, man, and I don't work for tips like that. My job is a job, and but no, that's a problem for me.
When somebody offers you a tip, it's impolite to refuse it.
Would I refuse it? No, I mean I politely refuse. Say no, you
No,
pay me, blah blah blah.
here's where I learned that too. Pete and I did this old lady, this old Italian lady one time. And when we showed up, she couldn't have been happier that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a 300-foot job. It was like a 1 day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to have a coat down by 2 o'clock job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this woman was near tears that she's finally saved up enough money to do a 300-foot natural, 3 coats of poly,
Wow.
nothing job. And you would have thought that it was, the MoMA Tower, right?
Yeah.
Museum of Modern Art.
Thank you. I got that.
Okay. We get done. And every day we showed up, she was like just as ecstatic that, oh my God, they're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we get done. And of course she's Italian, little old Italian lady just feeding the hell out of us. And just, you just love this woman, right?
Yeah.
We're leaving. And she walks up to me and she gives me a sandwich bag full of quarters. She says to me, there's about $12 in here. Thank you so, so, so much. And I'm thinking,
She hit her over the head with a bag of quarters.
This lady isn't going to eat because she's giving me, right? She's giving me change in a bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't take, please, please, please. Please. I said, I own the company. You don't have to tip me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm almost fighting with her. And then she was the one who told me, she goes, when somebody offers you a tip, it is very impolite. You're hurting my feelings. She said, I just love what you did. and you went above and beyond. And I'm thinking, above and beyond. This was like 40/80, 3 coats of satin poly. There was no above and beyond of anything, right? 100 grit screen. You do it with your eyes closed. And this woman went, so we took the quarters. So I took the lease.
Wow.
She probably didn't eat for a
And
week.
you and
But
you
I
say
got a
I'm
bag of quarters in the truck now.
and you're acting like I'm the scumbag.
Yeah.
No, listen, old ladies are that's different. And in that case, that'd be tough though. The bag of quarters, man. That's but that's a good move as I get old though. I'll do stuff like that too. So they'll think, God, that poor old man, he didn't get nothing. But let me tell you about my old lady. My brother and I, we all we had to do was put a coat on the floor. We're going to bid a job, okay, and that was it for the day. It was a long month or whatever, so that was it. That's all we're going to do. It was in Alameda. Drive to the lady's house. It's kind of a rundown neighborhood, you know. I thought, I don't know about this. We go in there and the floors are pretty beat up, right? And she asked me how much it was going to cost, and I told her the price. She goes, "Oh man, I'm so sorry I wasted your time. I don't have that kind of money." You see, my son, I haven't seen my son in ages, and he's coming for the holidays, and I'm just embarrassed about the floors, and
Oh,
I know I didn't have a lot of money, but I was hoping I could spruce them up a little bit so he can see, and just, you know, I don't know if we're gonna get a tree this year because things are kind of tight, but I thought the floor was we could get the floor looking nice, and I went, oh man, like I'm a sucker for old people, man. And so I said, well, hang on a second. So me and John went outside. I said, John, you know what, man? We could probably wax this floor and buff it for number 2 steel wool, wax it and buff it and just make it look better than it is, you know, and then just go to lunch. All right. And he goes, yeah, I don't care. I said, all right, you grab the buffer. I'll go tell her. I said, ma'am, I said, I can't stand we finish the floor because we got a full schedule. But you know what we could do? I could wax and buff the floor. I mean, some of this stuff will buff out, right? And it'll give us some sheen back to the floor and give some more longevity back to the floor. And that'll look nice. He goes, oh my gosh, that'll look nice. What's that going to charge me? Well, it cost me. And I said, like, I think I said $40 because I thought, we'll go to lunch. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I wouldn't get out of bed. Who would get out of bed for $40? It's free. It's nothing. But you know, so okay.
You're trying to
We're
help
there.
another human
Yeah.
being.
Yeah. So we're there and we spend way too long on it. Now I'm kind of invested in this as you would any project, you know, making it look the best I can, you know. So we get done after a couple hours and move furniture back. And I said, well, there you go. She goes, is that it? I go, yeah. She goes, you're done? I said, yeah. And this is the words I will never forget, Rob. And this is 30 years ago, maybe longer. And I'll never forget these next words he said. Well, an old washwoman could have done that. That's what I got for me. My brother John and I laughed so hard in the van. Of course, we didn't take her money because you're not happy. I don't want your money. But are you kidding me?
Awesome.
So there's a yin to your yang.
There it is, folks. That's West Coast versus East Coast.
Yeah, I guess.
An old washwoman could have done that.
Yes, that was her exact words. I'll never forget it. So,
oh my gosh.
All right.
And here you're thinking, you're patting yourself on the back, your
thinking I'm doing a nice
patting
deed.
each other.
Yeah.
Like I'm going straight to heaven. I'm going to be seated at the right hand of the Lord.
Absolutely.
For what I'm doing to this woman.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we talked long enough. I don't know what we accomplished today. One thing
we got that whole craft versus a service thing, communication, but you still didn't tell everybody what drugs the dogs are on. What, you got a dog taking 5 drugs? What does that cost you if you don't have a prescription plan for an animal?
Okay, hold on a second. First of all, let me finish my thought on the show. We did accomplish one thing. If you haven't used Chroma, pick up a gallon just to tint the finish to see what's available to you. What is possible, because I think it'll blow your minds. Okay. No, I mean that sincerely. What does it cost me? God strike me dead.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Well,
If
don't
you
strike me
haven't
dead.
picked up-
Don't strike me dead yet. Okay.
If you haven't tried Chroma, reach out to your territory manager, reach out to me, reach out to Wayne. We'll show you. We'll talk you through it. Go.
Okay. Very good. Okay. My wife and I were having lunch today, or today, yesterday, Sunday, and I asked her because I picked up the cat, right? Told you I picked up the stray cat, and I asked Judy. Actually, it must have been today. I asked Judy. I said, what do these cats cost us a month anyhow? You know, what did 5 cats and a dog cost us? Now, when you think about adding this other cat, it's not going to happen. She goes, I said, is it $500 a month? That'd be $6,000 a year. So she goes, no. The cat food's like 89 cents each. They have like 4 of those a day. And then the dry food doesn't cost much. I said, what about the dog? She goes, well, that dog eats the good stuff because Ann used to feed it really, you know, so that's expensive. The dog's expensive. And of course, there's medical stuff. I go, what do you mean medical stuff? She goes, he's on 5 medications. I go, I'm not even on 5 medications. One, she has to show her license to get it. I can't even remember what the hell it is. And in fact, Judy was on it for something she had a while back. Same type of stuff. It's expensive. So I don't know what they cost us. The dogs and cats. I don't know, but it's a lot of damn money. So
you can't get the dog on the Bona prescription plan.
No, I don't think that actually be cheaper than myself. I think. All right. Well, we've talked enough. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. This has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.